Good morning. It's Tuesday, October 3rd, and this morning I want to talk to you about a lawyer who won a lawsuit. Now that's not unusual because in every lawsuit there is a winner and a loser. So this is a case that involves a gun manufacturer, Remington. And this is a lawyer who sued Remington because of the Sandy Hook shooting. Now, the lawyer's name was Josh Kristoff, and he was representing the Uvalde family. Now, the Uvaldes were contemplating action against Smith & Wesson when they were directed to Kristoff, a lawyer from Bridgeport, Connecticut. And it was because of a landmark case that he had won several months before the death that occurred in the Uvalde's family. And the death that was caused in the Uvalde family dealt with the Sandy Hook massacre. That was a shooting that took place in Sandy Hook, of course. And the weapon that was used in that particular case was an AR-15 automatic rifle that was made by Bushmaster, and Bushmaster was owned by Remington. And it was used in the 2012 shooting that left 20 first graders and 6 adults dead. Now, because Remington was in bankruptcy, this suit was negotiated by the insurers, by Remington's insurers. In this case, Kristoff won a $73 million settlement for the Uvalde family and others who were injured in that horrendous Sandy Hook shooting. What's unusual about this is that there are laws protecting the gun manufacturers from suits by people who own their gun. The gun manufacturers are protected. They are not held responsible for the weapons that are used and manufactured by them when the owners of those weapons use them for horrendous deeds. So the $73 million settlement is not the real significance of this particular case. The payout was not the real significant issue in this case. And the mere fact that it ever reached a point where the insurance companies felt compelled to make a deal was somewhat unusual. Because federal law provides very broad immunity to the gun makers. It protects them from what they call tort litigation or civil law complaints. The Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, which became law in 2005 via an act of Congress. And I'm sure that none of you finds it unusual that Congress would attempt to protect a large manufacturing group. Now, this law that was passed was believed to protect all the gun manufacturers. However, it had several exceptions. And Josh Kristoff, a medical malpractice and personal injury lawyer who had no previous experience in gun litigation, used 2 of these exceptions to go after Remington. This particular case was not the first case that tested the limits of the Lawful Commerce Act, the Lawful Arms Act, so to speak. But it's the only one that was filed since the law took effect that has arguably succeeded in pinning responsibility for a mass shooting on a gun company. But we must remember in this particular case that Remington was in bankruptcy, and Remington themselves probably would not have settled. But the insurance company associated with Remington did settle this case. And this victory by Kristoff has now jolted the gun industry, and it has energized the gun control advocates. Because this particular case punched a hole in that law that was protecting them. And the Kristoff win came against the backdrop of the terrible situation of gun violence that's going on in America. Mass shootings occur every single day, and there were over 600 of them in the last couple of years. And that's according to the Gun Violence Archive, who keeps track of these things. And if you look at the polls, we have large segments of our population that are willing to support stricter gun control measures. But most of the Republicans in Congress are unwilling to take the steps to limit access to guns. However, last year they did break with their party, the Republicans, and passed the first gun control bill approved by Congress in nearly 3 decades. But the legislation was Mickey Mouse in scope. For example, it included making background checks slightly more stringent for buyers under 21. And many observers believe that the firearms industry, through some of the weapons it sells, AR-15 style rifles in particular, and how it markets them, has contributed significantly to the prevalence of the mass shooting. Because it's very difficult to have a mass shooting with a 6-shooter, or even a clip or a Glock or something, and I don't know how many bullets that hold. But this particular lawsuit has now raised the possibility that gun makers could be constrained through the use of a time-honored tradition of using litigation to induce more responsible corporate behavior. In other words, this litigation has opened an alley for the average person who has been offended in some way, shape, or form by gun violence to sue. Now, it was a difficult thing prior to this particular episode. So this particular suit has brought the kind of national recognition that Kristoff and his father and his grandfather, who were both trial lawyers, enjoy. His firm, Kristoff and Beta, or KKB, also led a successful defamation suit in Connecticut against Alex Jones, the right-wing conspiracy theorist, who claimed that Sandy Hook was a hoax. Can you imagine that? Alex Jones saying that Sandy Hook, 26 bodies, was a hoax. And that case that Kristoff and his firm brought against Alex Jones resulted in a $1.5 billion total judgment last year. So between these cases, the firearms case against Remington and the Jones case, Kristoff has now become a national figure in the fight against gun violence. 800 people attended the last events that he spoke at in Boston, and that was last month. So we are making some progress in the area of gun violence, but it can't come fast enough. But as long as we have an opening that Kristoff and his firm have developed, maybe the gun manufacturers will ease off, and maybe our congressmen will recognize the fact that gun violence is a serious national problem. Have a great day. See you in the morning. Bye.